Not only has Shadow of the Erdtree dropped a ton of new weapons to try out, but there are also 7 new weapon types to choose from too. Instead of having you switching back and forth between weapons trying to compare their stats, these are the 7 best ones you can find in the DLC, and among them are some from the new categories: Light Greatsword and Great Katana specifically. With all these new weapons, enemies, and ways to die, it means that now is the perfect time to switch up your playstyle and try something new for Shadow of the Erdtree. The ones below are suited to a variety of builds, so there should be something here in this buffet of blades for you no matter what your playstyle is. So, I'm Zoe Delahunty Light, and these are the 7 best weapons in Shadow of the Erdtree. Milady was one of the weapons available via the Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree preview, and made waves due to its iconic name and powerful sweep attacks. This blade belongs to the new Light Greatsword weapon category, meaning it doesn't sacrifice speed for strength, so it already sounds pretty powerful, doesn't it? Its Impaling Thrust weapon skill delivers great damage for very little FP cost, meaning you can prioritize stat levels in endurance and either strength or dexterity. Impaling Thrust has a surprisingly generous range, meaning you can target foes from a distance and then close the space with a chain of slash attacks. If you want to have Milady by your side, you'll need talismans that can bolster your stamina recovery, as you'll be using a lot of combo and dodge moves. The 2-headed turtle talisman is a great option for this, and it can be found just below this waterfall at the northern tip of the river that runs under the Elec Great Bridge. You'll know you're in the right place because there's a real turtle guarding the talisman. Pair this with the Wing Stance Ash of War, which can be found by jumping off the south balcony next to the Castle Lord's Chamber Site of Grace, and climbing the 2 ladders to the top of this tower. The Wing Stance Ash of War is only available for light greatswords and allows the Tarnished to perform a quick 3-slash combo or a powerful leaping thrust towards a single enemy. To get Milady, travel to Castle Ensis. Gravesite Plains main road leads directly to the castle, so once you're past the entrance and that pesky troll knight, the sword will be at the top of a tower. The tower in question is patrolled by a soldier and their dog, and is located opposite the same cave entrance, which marks the route forward into the castle. Parry like your Sekiro with this one weird trick that Shadow of the Erdtree bosses hate. The Great Katana category is another intriguing new type to come bundled with the Shadow of the Erdtree. It offers the same blood loss build-up and high damage capabilities as regular katanas, but offers more range and heft. I love saying that word. Rakshasa's Great Katana is slightly slower than an average katana, however, it makes up for it with its high damage blend of slash and thrust attacks. Due to its impressive scaling attributes, it's best suited for a dexterity build and, even better, you can still have an offhand armament when wielding it. When executing the weapon skill Weed Cutter, the Tarnished takes a step forward as the katana delivers 2 consecutive slash attacks that cover a large range and can hit multiple enemies at once. It's scary. For the enemies, I mean. Most samurai builds would do best by pairing Rakshasa's Great Katana with Rellana's Cameo Talisman, which enhances attacks executed after maintaining the same stance for a period of time. Rellana's Cameo can be found in Castle Ensis by following the route through it from the Castle Ensis checkpoint until you reach this church. The Cameo can be found lying on the altar right at the back. The Great Katana is a slightly early game weapon that's decent too if you can't get Rakshasa's Great Katana. Its scaling and damage output is slightly lower than Rakshasa's Great Katana, however. To get your hand on Rakshasa's Great Katana, you do, shocker, have to defeat the optional boss, Rakshasa. He is located at the Eastern Nameless Mausoleum, located opposite the Recluse River downstream site of Grace that's just south of the Shadow Keep. To reach this lower waterway, you must access the secret coffin within the Shadow Keep. Once you've found the river downstream site of Grace, drop down the gravestones nearby and make your way to the water below. then follow it back north and around until you reach this area below the bridge leading to the village, where you'll see the mausoleum on the left-hand side of the waterfall. Head inside to fight Rakshasa and claim your katana. Skirting around bosses and stabbing them in the rear is a well-respected tradition, nay, rite of passage, and this Backhand Blade is made for that very approach, and celebrates those of us who love a rear passage ahead. The Backhand Blade has a powerful blind spot weapon skill that allows the Tarnished to execute several side steps, followed by a side slash to enemies. With this skill, you can essentially dance around your foes and chip away at them before they have a chance to react. The FP cost of this skill is remarkably low too, so this all in all is a powerful recipe for success. As this weapon caters to a stab and dodge playstyle, you should try to pick up the retaliatory crossed tree Talisman, which enhances attacks executed after rolling or backstepping. You'll get your grubby mitts on it by following Leda's questline. You can pick up the Backhand Blade immediately when starting Shadow of the Erdtree. Yep, you heard me right, immediately. Simply travel to the central east area of the gravesite plain, just past the Scorched Ruins, and you'll find the Backhand Blade within a mausoleum, on a corpse, next to a stone coffin. Beware of the furnace golem patrolling this area, or you'll be lying within a stone coffin of your own. Devonia's hammer is one of the many new strength/faith hybrid weapons to land in the land of Shadow along with yourself. Its weapon skill, Devonia's Vortex, summons a chargeable torrent of holy fire that can target multiple foes at once in a powerful area of effect. To use it, the Tarnished spins the hammer around, charges it, and then brings it crashing down on enemies. Pretty sick. As such, it would benefit from the Godfrey icon Talisman, which enhances charged, spell, and skill attacks. The Godfrey icon Talisman is actually found in the main game and is dropped by Godefroy the Grafted after his defeat in the Golden Lineage Evergaol, which you can find east of the Grand Lift of Dectus. Thankfully, as a weapon that requires levels in 3 different skills, the stat requirements to wield Devonia's hammer aren't too high. Despite being categorized as a colossal weapon, the standard attacks aren't actually too slow and can be powerful in the right hands. As always, when dealing with weapons that deliver holy damage, check the resistance of bosses before fights because you don't want that holy fire to go to waste. To get Devonia's hammer, you must defeat its wielder, Crucible Knight Devonia, found in the upper ancient ruins of Rao. To find them, travel to the Rao ruins from the entrance via the Shadow Keep, which you can do by taking the lift that's just left of the first floor Site of Grace in the Specimen Storehouse. You'll find Devonia just before the large bridge, guarded by a furnace golem. Looking at it, I'd forgive you at first for thinking that the star-lined sword is a curious and unassuming katana. Its weapon skill, Onze's Line of Stars, has 3 chained movements that get more powerful as they're executed. The first prompt results in 2 large magical slash attacks, and the second is a charged form that emits 2 attacks, one in a jump. The last of the 3 enables the Tarnished to disappear, then reappear in the air and perform a powerful downward slash. Nothing personal, kid. The FP cost is surprisingly low and doesn't get higher with each consecutive weapon skill attack, which is one heck of a deal. I'm sure you don't need me to spell it out, but I'm going to do it anyway. If you manage to pull off all 3 attacks, it can have a devastating impact on your foes. What's more, with the passive bleed damage of the katana, the normal attack is quick enough for you to deliver multiple blows and reap the benefit of its status effect capabilities. You should pair this blade with the Lord of Blood's Exaltation Talisman, which increases your attack power when blood loss is in the vicinity. If you've already made your way through the main game, you should have this one already, but if not, it drops from Esgar, Priest of Blood in the Lanedale Catacombs. Aside from being used for this specific Starline sword, this talisman is a fabulous option if you're wielding a katana or claws weapon. To get the Starline Sword, you must defeat Demi-Human Queen Mariga, the optional boss that can be found within the northwest region of the Cerulean Coast. Take the pathway east of the Cerulean Coast west site of Grace, the one near the shipwreck, and follow this path all around, past the glowworms and demi-human enemies, until you reach the other side of the western coastline, where you'll see demi-human Queen Mariga waiting on the beach with even more shipwrecks. Okay, we are entering spoiler territory now, so if you don't want significant spoilers for the end of the Shadow of the Erdtree DLC, you need to stop watching now. Thank you so much for choosing to spend your time with me, and I'll see you next time. But, seeing as you are still here, let's continue. I think there's no better way to celebrate defeating Mesmer than controlling his own flames and stepping into your own role as the Impaler. The Spear of the Impaler is capable of 3 successive weapon skill attacks and, when performed one after the other, they get stronger, scarier and, well, not sluttier, but they're cool. The first of Mesmer's assault summons 3 sweeping torrents of flame as you leap into the air. The second attack makes the Tarnished leap and perform 3 thrust attacks, and lastly, if you use the weapon skill prompt 3 times in a row, the Tarnished will plunge the spear into the ground and summon a field full of spears to impale all of those nearby. Slay. Additionally, the spear can be thrown and will automatically return to your hand like Mjolnir, and this works both on foot or from the back of Torrent. You should pair the spear with something like the Fire Scorpion Charm for an extra buff to all of those fire attacks. To get the Spear of the Impaler, you must defeat Mesmer the Impaler, and then exchange his remembrance with Enya at Round Table Hold. The Shadow Keep is located in the Shadow Atlas region, and to get to Mesmer, you'll need to navigate to the top of the complex maze-like specimen storehouse. You'll know you're near him when you find the dark chamber entrance, Site of Grace. And finally, let me introduce you to Rellana's Twinblade, a prize for vanquishing the twin of the Carian Queen herself, Rellana. You can quite literally get the best of both worlds with this weapon's moon and fire stance, which is pretty self-explanatory, but I'm going to explain it anyway. This weapon skill charges the Twinblade with fire and magic damage. The next strong attack you make afterwards will emit a fiery torrent of damage, or, if you use a light attack, it will summon arcs of glintstone light. Dealing 3 different types of damage means it naturally requires more investment into different stats. Mind you, these stat requirements aren't too high, especially because you'll already be a decently high level by the time you get to the Shadow of the Erdtree DLC. You should be using a talisman which will bolster your fire and magic damage, such as the Fire Scorpion Charm or the Magic Scorpion Charm. To get Rellana's Twinblade, you must defeat Rellana and pry it out of her cold, dead hands, who you can find outside the Castle Lord's chamber within Castellensis. Fun fact, this is also one of the ways to gain access to the Shadow Atlas region, so you might be coming this way anyway. Might as well cut some branches of the Carian family tree while you're there. There you go, all done. Which is your favourite weapon in the Shadow of the Erdtree DLC? Let me know in the comments below, and a massive thank you to Rock Paper Shotgun, our sister site, for allowing their article to be Frankensteined into a script by me, Zoe Delahunty Light, so I in turn can share it with you. If you want more Shadow of the Erdtree content dripping straight into your veins, then feel free to subscribe to Eurogamer and drop a like on this video, as that gives me an indication of whether more Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree content is desired. Thanks so much for choosing to spend your time with me, and now I'm going to go and gaze lovingly at Rellana, who I will defend until my last breath, so I'll see you lot next time.